Good morning. I'm Denise Dryden. I'm doing my weekly Sunday morning video on all of the different things that come up when parenting, partnering, and working with sensitives and empaths. And it's part of the coaching that I've been working on for the last 25 years, is sort of now honing it into sensitivity and empathic skills and energy, because at the core, I think that's what all of this is. And so today I want to talk about overwhelm. What is overwhelm? What are the different forms it takes? And how do we understand it when we feel it or when we see it? So to start with, overwhelm is sort of a surge. It's when something sort of submerges you and engulfs you. It's when you feel powered over and your mind starts to go a little crazy, right? I have tarot cards to show you. It's when your mind, starts to like really freak out. Too many things to think about, right? It's when you cover or bury something so that it can't survive, it can't thrive. And it's when you burden something over excessively. So what happens is overwhelm really directly affects the nervous system. And Elaine Aron does a great job in her Highly Sensitive Person book from the 90s. Man, she did some good research on this. She calls it the DOES. So the depth of processing is the D. O is overstimulation. What's happening in the outer world that's like, whether it's schedules, time, people, things like that. Emotions, when emotions are just, there's too many of them and they're too big, right? And then there's the senses. What happens when the senses are activated? And what happens is when something surges at us, and it could be a global event, something on the news. It could be the pandemic and the fears that we're working with. It could be the Schumann resonance. It could be astrology, astrological, like bam, something just happened. It could be environmental. You moved into a new home. There's someone mowing their lawn or hammering next door to you all day long. It could be relationships. So what we know is that energy affects everything, and everything is energy, and it's invisible. So we can't see it, but it can be felt and it can be experienced, and it can be heard if you look at the reactions. Like all of a sudden the forest starts to get really loud, or like there's an intensity to it. You can see that, you can hear the ebb and flows when something is activated. Same with you can actually see it when you watch how the wind moves through the trees, especially if you have a higher perspective. You can actually see waves of reaction in people. It's kind of fun to do it at concerts or at public places, is to watch what activates people and gets them going, right? Okay, so I've got some more tarot cards to share with you, but I want to keep going on this. So one of the things we worked with a lot when I was working with a teen therapeutic program was that, there's this great little handout, and I don't think I have it in front of me. Nope. Of anxiety and fear and feeling out of control. And when that happens, we have a nervous reaction, our nervous energy reaction, okay? And it floods us, right? And what happens is we have a couple of options, right? One is to go into fight. We're going to put up, our dukes, and we're going to fight it out, and we're going to see if we can, blame, force, control, hurt because we're overwhelmed. The second one is flight, which is we're going to push it away and we're going to run, and we're going to act out in lots of different ways, and it's like non-targeted. It doesn't really matter. It's just like pushing things out in a different direction through flight. The third one is avoidance, which is where I'm going to avoid everything that's difficult. That's where we see procrastination. That's where we see like shutting down, isolating, pushing away, and avoiding, which is I don't even know that it exists. I can pretend that that's not there for days, weeks, months, years. The fourth one that we added with the coaching over the last 2 years is freeze, which is what happens when you physically shut down and you can't do anything but perseverate on the inside. You're immobile on the outside. You've stopped everything, but your mind is still spinning behind the wheels. Like, and then this happened, that. So there's no peace in freeze. Avoidance is kind of like numb. Freeze is like, I'm not doing anything on the outside. I am literally spinning on the inside, right? And the most interesting thing is that you can be any of these at any given time. You can go from fighting to avoiding to freezing to, and you can go up and down all over the place. So, let's see, I get pretty excited about this. How do you know when you're overwhelmed? What does it look like? How can you tell in your partner? How can you tell in your child? How can you tell when somebody you care about is overwhelmed? And what do you do when overwhelm shows up? I'm working very specifically with a couple of family systems that the parents go into anger when the child's overwhelmed because it is a repetitive pattern that slows down the whole family system. And it's so out of sync with what we're really talking about, okay? So there are some forms that show up when we're talking about overwhelm. And the first thing I want to do before I go into the forms is I want to sort of show you what overwhelm can look like. So let's say that you're going through your day and you have a whole bunch of things that you're trying to carry, right? And it might be your schedule, it might be your health, it might be the amount of meetings you have to do, it might be the responsibilities that you have. And, at some point it's kind of full and you don't have any extra hands and you don't have any extra room. And then something comes in and just washes over and takes more attention, takes more energy to handle it. And you don't have any free arms for it. So what happens is we just we cave, right? Our nervous system can't reach for another thing if we try. And it looks like I don't know how I'm supposed to take this on. And so we hit these walls, boom. And when we hit these walls, because we're so overburdened, we go into some set patterns of reaction. And this overwhelm can be, the first one I came up with, I have 5 of them, was to focus on another, which is, I am so busy over here, but it makes much more sense to just see how you're doing. Did you eat? Did you do your homework? Are you okay? Is there something I can make you? And so what you do is you take all your overwhelm and you become super hyper vigilant and you anticipate, and then you forget about the self-care, because there's no way when you're holding all of these things that you're dealing with self-care, right? I can sacrifice myself because it's more important to focus on the other. The second one is to disconnect or disassociate, which is no one can get in. You really can't connect. You don't like the things you used to do. You don't even want, and so disconnect, let me see. Disconnect can look a little bit like this, where you're just so overwhelmed, you don't care about anything. Like, why bother? And so, what that might look like is you've got all of these things in your hands, right? But, someone's talking to you and you're like, yeah, okay, I could do that. And you can't engage and you can't, you don't offer to do anything more because you don't want to. You've got something in your hands and you're busy. And it can also, when you're in that disassociation, when you're in that disconnect, you go numb and you can isolate and stay away from people. And, this is really interesting, this one, which is I'm just so I got so much coming in on me. I'm immobile. I can't move, right? The third one, which I see a lot with parents, is to distract, is to fill yourself with schedules, work, social, children, chores, and to run your energy on anything but that, which is kind of like, I'm Superwoman and I got all this, but now I have an extra hand, and so I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And what happens when we're overwhelmed this way is that anyone who gets mean to you or holds you accountable, you're like, wait a minute, do you not understand how many things I'm carrying right now? And you get angry and you blame other people and you blame yourself, right? And so you're pointing the finger and you're activated. But this is the card that I love on this one, which is, I got so many things to do, you don't understand. And I'm standing on top of a ball. And what I love is this little monkey at the bottom who's just ready to pop it all and go like, really? How's that working for you? Because you're furious and you're critical and you're mean and you're not very nice and, you know, la 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 la, right? So the other one is very similar to this, but it's anger. It's when you feel burdened and unseen. How can you not see how busy I am? How can you not support me? Why don't you just ask me if you can take something off my hands? Can't you see me? And so there's this like martyr energy, which is I've created all of this and now I'm overwhelmed and it's all your fault because you don't see it. You don't have a magic wand and can see what I'm doing and step in to help me, right? And then the last one is lockdown, which is the refusal to open up, the refusal to even like do anything. So you push people away, your mind spins over and over and you're agitated on the inside and you're kind of like, I don't know what to do. I don't know, and I don't want to talk to anybody. And it's different than avoidance. You know, it's more like there's so much internal pressure that people sort of stand back. And then you look around and you're like, see, they don't even want to come anywhere close to me because you're so prickly, right? So overwhelm it can show up in so many different forms. And when we're talking about overwhelm, the thing I like to do, or in any of these videos, is to give you a tip or several tips. I've got 6 for you on what to do with overwhelm. So the first thing to do is to learn how to recognize when you're in overwhelm. When you've got all this stuff in your hands and you're like, oh, wow, here I am again. Tense, trying to manage everything. I can feel it in my body. There I am. So just catch it. That's the first thing. Just catch it. Don't go into like, you're so dumb. I can't believe you did this. Just catch it. That's all you have to do. Oh, I'm in overwhelm. That's right. Number 2, slow down. Put down, consciously go like, wow, I have too many things in my hand. I'm just going to put 1 or 2 of these down. I'm going to set this on my lap so I'm not being totally avoidant, right? And you set down what you're carrying and you identify what you're doing, which is, wow, I'm going to take some of these things out of my hands, like a little bit like slow motion. I'm going to bring everything into focus. I'm going to concentrate on my breathing and I'm going to slow everything down because something's activated me and I am now in overwhelm. So this is where we use our beginning tools. We ground ourselves, we slow down our breath, and we start to see what we can influence within ourselves, right? And then number 3, with curiosity, not blame and not anger and not like that hyper vigilant, oh, what's going on? You go, I wonder what tipped me over, because I'm looking around and everything went sort of smooth today. This person or these kids or this, you can identify that, yeah, everything went sort of well, but I'm really like I can feel the overwhelm just right in my body. So that's when you get curious and you look beyond the physical. Okay, so it's not the schedule, it's not that house, it's not work, it's not this. And that's where you go to, well, what's going on in the world? What's going on in the collective? What does the Schumann have to say? Or you find out, astrologically that Jupiter just moved into Pisces, which means Jupiter's going to expand all of your emotional well-being. And you're like, I don't really want to deal with that right now. And you go, okay, so now I know that there's something going on outside beyond what I thought it was. Number 4, explain to those in your close inner circle, like, you know what, I think I'm overwhelmed. And they're going to go, okay? Because usually they can tell, your partner, your children, your friend, they can tell, okay, yeah, you're a little overwhelmed. And you go, this is what I noticed, this is what I'm learning, this is what it felt like, and this is what I did. And I just wanted to keep you in the loop that I'm not blindly ignoring this, right? And I'm not going to pretend it's not there. I'm really going to deal with it. And thank you for just being someone I could talk to. So, you sort of share it with your inner circle so that people know I'm aware of this. I'm not ignoring it, okay? Number 5, when you sense the surge of overwhelm coming on, that's when we go to deep self-care, which is, the second that you've got all of these things in your hands, right? And you can feel the surge coming on. You're like, okay, wait a minute. I got to put this down and I got to go get some water. I got to get some magnesium in my body because my nervous system is a little overactive. I need to take a couple of things off my schedule. I need to make sure that I get outside and I take a walk. I need to, water, walk, magnesium, take a nap, maybe take a bath tonight. Get some tea that's relaxing. I've got to slow something down and allow this overwhelm to move through me, because if I ignore it, it's going to get bigger. So self-care is, you have to do self-care. And then the 6th one, the last one, is to be really compassionate towards yourself, because wow, when you're kind, when you're compassionate, when you're forgiving, like, okay, so that just happened and now I got to do something different. It's where you honor your gifts. Like, I'm catching it earlier and earlier. I'm noticing, trends. I'm reading energy, and I'm realizing, yeah, it's going to be kind of overwhelming today. So I'm going to do this for myself. So what we do is become proactive, and we become masters of watching, feeling, and managing energy so that it doesn't pour over us and flip us. So I would imagine there's going to be a lot of things coming in these next few weeks that are going to feel really overwhelming. So go back to this video, make sure that you get to these tips, and you can always contact me if you have any other questions on what you might suggest or what I can do to support you. You can find me on DeniseStridenCoaching.com. Have a great Sunday and week, and I'll see you next Sunday. Take care. Bye-bye.